because that will determine whether the child will be successful or unsuccessful.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, why is it important to involve fathers in the early childhood development stage?
I'm going to refer to an article that was written by Wessel van der Berg and Kwanda Ndoda, because they really rounded this off so well. The fact that, first of all, it's involving fathers and men in early childhood development, because we've got to understand many of our children don't actually have fathers in their lives. So actually placing your child in a learning environment is one of the most important decisions that one is going to make, because this place is going to actually affect your child in the formative years. That's going to affect their cognitive and emotional development for life. Also, it's the first social interaction that a child will have without a peer parent. So it's really, 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 very important. And we are so overwhelmed with reports of crimes perpetrated by men against children. And if we're going to stop this vicious cycle of violence and neglect, we need to expose our children to trustworthy and caring men. And this often can be the father, but it can be the uncle. It can be somebody in an ECD center who is working there. The men need to take an active role, because this will reduce the likelihood of boys becoming perpetrators themselves of violence against women. And girls will learn that this behavior is unacceptable, and they will stop just accepting it. So fathers can greatly influence the future behavior of their children by playing with them. Play is so important. We can never underestimate the importance of play. And also interacting with them in a loving and caring manner. Showing them, treating the moms, daughters, and sons with respect, whether they live together or not. And sadly, this is the thing, if dad doesn't have to live with the child to actually be a good role model.
Yes.
They can still take an active part in being in the child's life.
And unfortunately, we're living in a situation whereby there are fathers who want to be involved in their children's lives, but mothers refuse to let that happen. Mothers do not want to involve their fathers in the children's lives, and obviously, this is not going to be good for the upbringing of the child, and it's also going to create resentment.
It's actually so true. At the end of the day, our children are the innocent ones in any situation. And they need to put aside their own anger or frustration. Sometimes the mommies will use the little one as a bit of a whipping thing because daddy hasn't paid maintenance or something like that. But actual fact, that's not the important thing. But dad actually being part and parcel of the child's life is what is the most important.
In what ways can fathers be involved in their children's lives? But hold that thought. We need to take a quick break and we will be right back.
No problem.
You are listening to Mariam Makwanda live on Salam Media.
Fabric Direct, now open at 224 Brickfield Road, Overport, Durban, offering you a variety of dress fabrics, curtaining, upholstery, wallpaper, and decor. Fabric Direct, quality, price, and a range that speaks for itself. 224 Brickfield Road, Overport, Durban. Fabric Direct, definitely worth a visit.
They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, yet many children go to school hungry because of poverty. Penny Appeal's Breakfast Club aim to get a warm, hearty meal to underprivileged children so they can spend the day prospering in their schoolwork. Help feed a needy learner by visiting our website on www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573 to find out how you can donate. Penny Appeal. Small change, big difference.
Freedom Stationery supply Marlin and Marlin Kids pens to me and my school friends. They supply just about everything we need to help us get a better education, from books to files to rulers. In fact, any
Accessory.
any accessory we need. Freedom Stationery. Education for the nation. What does accessory mean?
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
You are listening to the Mariam Makwanda Show on Salam Media, and I am chatting to the co-founder of ECD Owners of South Africa, Jenny Milton de Kock, about the importance of involving fathers and men in early childhood development. If you have any comments or questions, please send them to us on WhatsApp. The number 061 766 0355. Jenny, thank you for staying on the line. In what ways can fathers be involved in the lives of their children?
And Miriam, I think this stops immediately as soon as the father actually hears that there is a little precious bundle on its way. The man, the potential father, can actually make a decision to say, no matter what, I'm going to be involved in this baby's life. Go to prenatal visits with the mom. Start bonding while the child's in the womb. I've even seen daddies read stories to the pregnant mom, just to build that so that the baby learns daddy's voice, learns who daddy actually is. And then, if possible, to be present during the birth and bond immediately. Obviously, the other way are just actually spending time with your child. A child loves to know that they are important to you. I own 2 preschools, and I can say to the most amazing thing is when that daddy comes to the door and that child just runs and so excited. They just want to share their day with you. It's a moment. That's all that's important to them. Sadly, some daddies are on their cell phone, so they're basically giving the child the impression, you're not important to me. I'm not going to get off my cell phone to talk to you. You need to be present, not just present physically, but present emotionally, present with the child in everything. Play. Don't ever underestimate the actual value of play. Playing with your children, and you yourself will benefit. The dads will see that when they spend time and they play with their children, they will just get the most amazing feeling. Conversation. I've just listened to your advert with that little one trying to say a word. I mean, what a wonderful thing for a dad to hear children talking like that. And then know, what is your child like? Those activities around. And think of things for stimulation and development. If you have more than one child, make plans to spend individual time with that particular, with each child on their own. So they also get that lovely sense of importance, because this relationship will just grow and the close bond will be formed for life. And there's nothing better than a close bond with your children.
And I like how things are changing, and people are changing as well and moving with the times, because with me growing up in a Black family, it was having our father there. It wasn't like a nice, friendly kind of setting. Our fathers were always like these stern men who were just there to be the head of the house, and whenever father is coming, everybody would just like be prim and proper and be afraid because father is coming, and not really have an open conversations with him. When we needed something, we had to ask mom to ask dad, because that's the type of relationship that we had. But I like the way things are changing, and that fathers are getting more involved in their children's lives. I see fathers going for accompanying their wives to a clinic and hospital visits, as well as during birth and post birth as well. So it's a beautiful thing to see. I think it has taken us quite some time to reach here, but I'm glad that we have. What about involving the men in the ECD sector? Is this something that we should also encourage?
Yes, I do think it is something that should be encouraged. But, in light of the extreme violence against women and children in South Africa, I think people often get scared to see a male teacher in an ECD sector.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a stigma in South Africa against men in ECD centers. And parents are sometimes wary about placing the children in the center. So that is a problem. And I've got to say, quite frankly, for the men, the salary is often not seen as a plus for them.
Yeah.
So somehow we've got to enhance gender equality in our industry that sees caregiving as not just women's work, but men's work as well.
Mm-hmm.
If the ECD owner is very responsible and knows what they're doing, they're going to thoroughly vet their staff, make sure that they are trained, monitor them. As an ECD owner myself, I'm very involved in my school.
Mm-hmm.
I know what's happening at all times. So I know that abuse can happen from women too. It's not just men. And I think that we can change this perception because it's vital to have them in our ECD centres. And many countries do employ men, and they're very, very valuable part of the ECD centre. Remember that a lot of our children don't have fathers in their lives.
Mm.
And men interact differently with children. They roughhouse, they play. And, if we actually start educating our parents to see how men can play such an active role, I think it's going to help shape the lives of children and reshape generations for years to come.
Mm-hmm.
I must just add there, I'm co-owner of my two schools with my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband does come into the school, mainly doing maintenance. He would love a more active role. Sadly, we have to worry about what parents think and things like that. But let him walk in. The kids go berserk. Uncle Terry, they go running. They so want that man's presence.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a security guard or a gardener on your school, watch when those children arrive. They greet that person first. A lot of our children are craving attention from men and good male role models in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's something we really, really need to start considering and working towards, is getting more men into our ECD centre.
Yes, so definitely. I think that there should be some sort of like governing body for ECD centers where men also form part of the committee and men can also get involved in ECDs. And I mean, we don't just want to see them on sports days, but also be involved there. And speaking about sports and activities, sometimes you don't find them there. It's only the moms, and that's so sad to see. We would love to see the fathers getting involved. All right, Jenny, lastly, what are some of the lessons that COVID-19 has taught us about the state of our ECD sector in South Africa, and how can we use these lessons to do better going forward?
Can I tell you that this is a topic that actually two of my colleagues and myself recently discussed. One is Kim Goldblum, who has a Kimmy's Play Group in Norwood, and Jennifer McQuillan, who owns Under the Sun Nursery School in Rand Park Ridge. And they are my co-founders of our Health SA ECD Get Back Together.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we first discussed is that children are so resilient. They are so much more resilient and adaptable than us adults.
Mm.
And then the second thing was just how important it was that we had good communication and good relationships with our parent body. Because without that, we wouldn't have been able to continue through lockdown with all the things that we did. And your staff team is so important. If you've got really quality staff, they carried you through this time. All the Zoom lessons and things like that for the children. And very also, as long as they were well trained. The thing that also was glaringly obvious to us was that in the more impoverished areas, they really, really battled because training of staff was financially out of reach for them. So to have good training that's either offered free or at nominal cost was important. To us, though, a very big thing is we noticed our ECD sector was very fractured. There were so many different societies and forums and independent centres, but everybody was acting on their own. There was no support and no standard control from DSD. So we've learned during this time to really band together, which is amazing. ECDs have banded together like never before. And it didn't matter if the centre was in a wealthy suburb or in the poorest of poor areas, because we all had challenges and we worked together, and it's just so lovely. For myself, I've seen schools that previously saw each other as competition actually working together.
Wow.
I've met and worked with the most wonderful people I would never have imagined before, across social, racial, provincial, and economic lines, and all with one goal in mind. We wanted the children of South Africa to be safe, loved, cared for, and have access to food and well-rounded early childhood development. If I could just say one thing,
Yes.
this sadly has not always been the case. And unfortunately, during lockdown, DSD really let our children down. It's taken court cases to get our kids back into ECD centres. It's taken court cases to get them to pay subsidies to the schools, which haven't been paid before lockdown. And this is a very emotional issue for me, because so many of our children have been going hungry because DSD refused to pay subsidies. It didn't make sense. And then they actually went back to court, and they actually said, no, and we have to go again. So thank goodness for Van Wyk attorneys, because they acted pro bono, and we have now won our court case that these subsidies are going to be paid out. I think that glaring problems in our sector was exposed, and now that we know these problems, we are going to work together as a sector, united like never before, to make sure that this never happens to our children again and to our sector again. It formed a united band across no matter what. No matter if as I said, if your school is in a poor area, if your school is in a wealthy area, we all helping each other and for the good of the children. And this is so heartwarming. It's really it's an amazing thing. It's a blessing that has happened through lockdown.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and when I think about it, my child's school had to close down, and she was staying at home when the ECDs were allowed to open, and she couldn't go back because they had closed down for the year, and I'm not even sure if they're going to open up next year. So it's now back to square one, having to look for another ECD that she can go to. So it's great.
Sad reality. It's sad, and I'm sorry to say. That's DSD letting our sector down and letting our children down.
Yeah.
That should never, ever have happened.
It shouldn't.
So we are going to have far too few schools. Once the dust settles and everybody's ready to go back, so many schools have actually gone under. And I'm sorry to say, DSD, even after we won the right to go back, they were intimidating schools and fining them, and saying to them, if you do open, you're going to have your registration taken away, which was part of the court case, because that was absolute nonsense. I cannot fathom why they did not want the children in a safe place, why, parents were working.
Exactly.
Why they did not want children, because a lot of those children only get one meal a day, which they get in the ECD centre. It actually boggles my mind. I must say, I get quite emotional over the topic, because our kids need to be back in school. I look at the children in my two schools, how we've got everything in place, protocols, sanitizing, physical distancing. We're following everything, that we have to follow. But how happy these children are just to be back at school. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I'm sure the parents are happy too, just to have them back at school. All right.
Definitely
Jenny,
are.
thank you so much for your time and for sharing all that information with us. Would you like to share your contact details for our listeners if anybody would like to get involved?
Okay, yes. So my two schools are Treetops Montessori Preschool in Midrand, and I've got Little Earth Kids Montessori in Fourways in Gauteng. My cell phone number is 072 579 6749.
All right. 6749. All right. Thank you so much, Jenny. And
Thank you, for so lovely chatting to you again.
likewise, have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
Right. That was Jenny Milton de Kock, one of the co-founders of ECD Owners of South Africa, talking about the importance of involving fathers and men in early childhood development. And as you heard it from Jenny, that it's very crucial, the early stages of a child's life. It's not just about the first 1,000 days. From the time they are born right up until they become teenagers, those stages are so crucial to have active involvement of a father, both parents. And if not, a father is not available, is not there, then at least a father figure, someone who can step in and become the father figure for that child. And it does not have to be what is this? It does not have to be a family member. It can be somebody in the community as well. But a father figure needs to be actively involved in a child's life. So let us try and get those father figures, or try and establish something, for the sake of our children. All right. If you have any further comments, questions, or queries or suggestions, please send them to us on WhatsApp. The number is 061 766 0355. To stay with us, we will be right back after this.
This is Salam Media, and you are tuned into the Mariam Makwanda Show.
Osman's Taj Mahal Spice and Rice. For over 80 years, Osman's Taj Mahal have